For more insight on that, let's bring in Foundation for the Defense of Democracy's senior counselor, John Hanna. John, thanks so much for joining me. Appreciate it a lot.
Sure, Jolene.
So, one of the things that the French president has said is that this European military force would hedge against adversaries across the globe, and he cited specifically China, Russia, and the United States. That sounds kind of like crazy town to me.
Yeah, certainly if that's what he said, it was crazy. There has been some debate about what exactly he said, what was the context. That was more in a cybersecurity context, perhaps even by private actors trying to hack European governments.
So maybe it's not a sign of, like, the apocalypse?
It's probably not a sign of the apocalypse, but I think it is a sign of this broader context that we've been in almost since the president's election, when he talked about NATO being obsolete. He's talked about the European Union as somehow being an adversary force. He's, of course, slapped tariffs on European countries, and the Europeans are now kind of responding to that, saying, okay, we've got to take matters into our own hands. We can't rely on the United States as much as we did in the past.
Well, here's a list. I want to pull up a list of the 10 countries that have signed on to sort of preliminarily be supportive of this plan. I think we've got this for viewers here. These are some of our closest do we have the full screen? These are some of our closest and oldest allies in the world. Countries like Denmark, France, Germany, Portugal, Spain, the UK. I mean, does that alarm you to hear that they would potentially, you know, be up for this also? Meaning it's not just coming from France because President Macron has a beef with President Trump right now. This is a broader sentiment among these countries? Yeah,
listen, the Europeans and the EU have been talking about building up a defense arm for a long time. The question is it going to be actually supplementary to the transatlantic alliance, to NATO, and building its capabilities, or is it going to somehow be in competition with NATO? If the latter is the case, then we've got a real serious problem, and I think there is some danger of that, given the kind of background of antagonism and tensions that we have in U.S.-European relations right now. So I think it's really going to take cooler heads to prevail here. Focus on NATO, which in reality has been the major arm of transatlantic security for more than 70 years, and I think it will be in the future. The Europeans are having a hard enough time making the necessary contributions to NATO. It's going to be almost impossible for them on their own to build a serious defense capability to take on things like the Russians and terrorism.
So we saw the German ambassador earlier today on Fox News Channel with Neil Cavuto pushing back, saying, Germany, you know, the German people, the country does contribute 2% GDP. These are some stand-up citizens. So it was nice to see someone from the Trump administration kind of taking a stand for the allies. John Hanna, thanks so much for being with us. We'll have you back soon.
Sure.